I can hit him with a fix, quite slick with a stick, and she thick with them hips to the lick, leave a tip with that trick and a trick when she twists. If you tryna get a hit, these balls of the bricks get a fix, no calls when I whip this hard when you sniff. On guard, get a split, see stars when I spit this lit. Hey, tempt me, I'm a tempy, new era, zoning, FE next, young Ronin. I go in like Conan, I rise on you sons, now you moaning. I'm cogent, my code is unbroken, my codec compressed and unloaded.
Whoever sees this and subscribes right now will get a free Drake. Quit ducking these giveaways. What's going on, Hilltop Mafia? It's the one and only Knox Hill. We're back with the reaction series. So today, man, you know what the assignment is. We are deep into this Kendrick Lamar album. It's been incredible so far, and I am looking forward to this one because so many people have been requesting this. So right here, right now, it's none other than Reincarnated. But before we get any further, listen, if you like the hat that I'm wearing, if you like the hoodie that I'm wearing, knoxhilldmv.com. Go cop your merch, support the brand, get it out there. It really does go a long way. It supports the channel. If you like what you see, if you want to check it out, I'll put all links down there. But anyways, know what we're here for. Kendrick, step back up to the plate. Let's see what you got.
Que reflejan tu mirada, la noche tú y yo.
That's from Murals.
Fire burning in me from within. Concentrated thoughts on who I used to be. I'm shedding skin. Every day a new version of me. A third
No!
minute in pain.
No!
And the pros and cons of fame. I don't know how to.
No, he didn't. Let's go. This is why you wanted me to get to this song. I don't stand up for anything. You know that. You know it takes a special occasion. We did it one other time on this album, and that was because of the Nas homage and one mic dropping in. It just happened again with another legend, this time being on the West Coast. The song is called Reincarnated, and this just feels like the reincarnation of Pac and his famous song, this West piano line to it, the bounce, even his cadence, his delivery, the flow that he takes is mirroring Pac on this. Made you fill in the blanks to that famous Pac song. That's what it is, man. That's what it is. Woo! La noche tú y yo, right? The night, yours and mine. The night is ours, essentially. And then the reflection of your mirada, of your image, of your look. That's what we had on Whacked Out Murals. Remember I talked about having just like symmetry throughout albums, right? You have like little vocal snippets, just little moments that you have to continue the pattern, to carry it forward. So this time, it's almost like a misdirection because you hear that and you start thinking Whacked Out Murals. You start thinking, is this a continuation of Whacked Out Murals? Because that was a discussion of legacy. He said some heavy stuff in there about Lil Wayne, about Snoop Dogg. We talked about the different shots fired, the way he was feeling about stuff. And I wonder if that is there to signify, hey, this is a continuation from that line of thinking and that legacy. And it makes sense then to shout out one of the OGs in Pac. Rest in peace. Man. Drop, ready?
Fire burning in me from within. Concentrated thoughts on who I used to be. I'm shedding skin. Every day
got this fire burning in me from within. Concentrated thoughts. Just again, that like more aggressive, up here, more treble delivery, and then follow up that line and kind of drop down and get closer to the mic. Like that sort of vocal, just range and dynamic. That's a very Pac type of feature right there on this.
Fire burning in me from within. Concentrated thoughts on who I used to be. I'm shedding skin. Every day a new version of me. A third of me demented, a minute in pain. Juggling the pros and cons of fame. I don't know how to make friends. I'm a lonely soul. I recollect this isolation. I was 4 years old. Truth be told, I've been battling myself, trying to navigate the rhythms fake. Cynical about the judgment day. I did past life progression last year and it me up. Reincarnated on this earth for 100 plus. Body after body, lesson after lesson. Let's take it back to Michigan in 1947. My father kicked me out the house cause I wouldn't listen to him. I didn't care about his influence, only loved what I was doing. Gifted as a musician, I play guitar on a grand level. The most talented where I'm from, but I had to rebel. And so I'm off in the sunset, searching for my place in the world. With my guitar up on my hip, that's the story unfurl. I found myself with a pocket full of money and a whole lot of respect. While the record business love me, I was head of rhythm and blues. The women that fell to their feet, so many to choose. But I manipulated power as I lied me gluttony was too attractive. Reincarnated.
Wow! Only fitting too that guitar comes in as he talks about a guitarist in Detroit, but it's a really interesting verse setup. We're gonna have to bring it back and really dissect this one. Also, excuse me for a minute because I just noted that this is the edited version. We don't want that around here, all right? We don't want that nonsense. Let's make it dirty. Come on. Yeah, there's like this weird thing where if you search on it, then you click on it, sometimes it takes you, when you see it as a square, that's what I've noted is the edited versions and the clean versions, right? But if you go on the Kendrick Lamar actual YouTube channel and then you filter through it and click on the video, and then when you get the more like regular YouTube dimensions, right? That's the dirty versions. At least I hope this is. Anyways, let's keep this running and break this down.
I got this fire burning in me from within. Concentrated thoughts on who I used to be. I'm shedding skin. Every day a new
I got this fire burning from within. Concentrated thoughts of who I used to be. I'm shedding skin. And this feels like a setup to me. And the setup is because it's called Reincarnated. And it starts off with a little misdirection because we're thinking of Pac and he's kind of reincarnating Pac. But then he switches characters and he switches roles. So I just wondered if this was Pac to start or if this is Kendrick to start before the switch and before the setup for our guitarist from Detroit, who we'll get to.
Burning in me from within. Concentrated thoughts on who I used to be. I'm shedding skin. Every day a new version of me, a third of me demented, cemented in pain, juggling the pros and cons of fame. I don't know how to make
a third of me demented. See, that's really interesting. The fire within. You start thinking about that fire, that passion, but then you also start thinking about like heaven and hell, right? And that fire, because a third of me demented. There's two layers to that for me, right? Father, Son, Holy Spirit, the Holy Trinity. Could be flipping into thirds like that. Could be his bodily third that he sees it as. But then there's also that theory that I've seen among Christian circles that, you know, when Lucifer fell, a third of the angels fell with him, right? A third of heaven. So a third of me demented. Think about the root form of demented relating to demons. Demented, flipping it into that sense could be
me, a third of me demented, cemented in pain, juggling the pros and cons of fame. I don't know how to make friends, I'm a lonely soul. I recollect this.
And then opposing kinds of fame. Again, there's this theme of duality, this yin and yang throughout. And for me, it's going even further into religion, this heaven and hell as well.
Juggling the pros and cons of fame. I don't know how to make friends, I'm a lonely soul. I recollect this isolation, I was 4 years old.
I recollect this isolation, I was 4 years old. Kendrick was born in 1987. He's a Gemini, born in June, right? 4 years, puts him in at 91. The Rodney King beatings, is that 91 or 92? And then the LA riots, right? That's an interesting time frame.
I make friends, I'm a lonely soul. I recollect this isolation, I was 4 years old. Truth be told, I've been battling myself, trying to navigate the real and fake, cynical about the judgment day. I did past life progression last year and it fucked me.
Navigate the real and fake, cynical about the judgment day. Again, there's more just religious themes throughout this, right? The judgment day, the final day of judgment. You going to heaven, you going to hell, or could even be some Book of Revelations type of ish as well.
The real and fake, cynical about the judgment day. I did past life progression last year and it fucked me up. Reincarnated on this earth for 100 plus. Body after body, lesson after lesson. Let's take it back to Michigan.
I did bad, slight progression. So he's looking at his past life, and then he sets it up here. That's interesting. This line right here is what sets up the transition from whoever was speaking at first, which I think is Kendrick, but it still could have been Pac as well. And he could have been just reincarnating Pac there. And then he flips into this character here. This is great storytelling.
100 plus, body after body, lesson after lesson. Let's take it back to Michigan.
Body after body, lesson after lesson. So there's something that's going beyond this mortal plane, isn't it? There's something more metaphysical, something more spiritual here, right? That's being passed on body after body, lesson after lesson. And then he's going to take you back to one of those lessons learned within one of these bodies. Here we go.
On this earth for 100 plus, body after body, lesson after lesson. Let's take it back to Michigan in 1947. My father kicked me out the house because I wouldn't listen to him. I didn't care about his influence, only loved what I was doing. Gifted as a musician, I play guitar on the grand level. The most talented where I'm from, but I had to rebel. And so I'm off in the sunset, searching for my place in the world. With my guitar up on my hip, that's the story unfurled. I found my...
Right, so you got 47. You got a few clues here, because I'm sat thinking of like black Michigan guitarist, famous in the 50s. You got Billy Burns. He linked with a lot of people. Billy Burns was also linked to John Lee Hooker. Was he born in Michigan? They both went through Detroit for a time period, right? And then you also have later on like being kicked out of the house too. So I'm thinking John Lee Hooker.
Searching for my place in the world.
And the reason is because one of John Lee Hooker's alter egos or personas on stage, because he was the boogeyman, right? He brought the boogie. One of his first songs had boogie in it, right? So his moniker became the boogeyman, and he'd get you up, he'd get you dancing, he'd get you boogieing. Kendrick Lamar, one of his personas and alter egos that he likes to include at times is being the boogeyman. And for me, that would make sense if you think about that connection and this theme of reincarnation and the parallels that Kendrick's trying to draw, that he's been on this earth before and all these different spirits that come to him. There it is.
But I had to rebel, and so I'm off in the sunset, searching for my place in the world, with my guitar up on my hip. That's the story unfurled. I found myself with a pocket full of money and a whole lot of respect. While the record business loved me, I was head of rhythm and blues. The women that fell to their feet, so many to choose. But I manipulated power as I lied to the masses. Died with my money, gluttony was too attractive.
Manipulated power as I lied to the masses. Man, that's a biting critique.
Power as I lied to the masses. Died with my money, gluttony was too attractive. Reincarnated.
Died with the money. Gluttony was too attractive. So, if we're taking it as John Lee Hooker then, or any, just insert famous Detroit guitarist during that period, right? His criticism is that they died with the money. You know, you can't take the money with you. So, they use their music to further their careers, to get famous, to get wealth. And I guess the understood, what's implied underneath of that and why Kendrick is critiquing is because that's all they cared about. They only did it for the wealth and then they died with it. But what did they do with that money? What did they do that was greater? Because, you know, think about one of these themes that you could take and that Kendrick leverage against Drake, right? You have all this fame. You have all this wealth, but are you planting any money trees? Are you giving back to your community? What are you doing to further the culture and further the spirit? So is that tying into this? Very interesting, but I think we need more lyricism and more of this to unfold, to really unpack this properly. This is wild, man. Also, talking about reincarnation. I've said this before. Pac came to Kendrick in a dream. He sees himself as a reincarnated version of Tupac. Hence the Tupac parallels and connections throughout this. And there's another layer I want to talk about before I forget about it as well. Who took Tupac's voice and used it as AI? Drake. Who was upset about it? Kendrick. This feels like a tailor-made response as well. Like, hey, this is how you pay homage the correct way to a legend, right? Because he uses a Pac type of flow. He uses a Pac type of beat. He calls back to that. But does he have to AI generate his voice and change it? No, he doesn't. Seems like he's walking the walk here, right? Instead of just talking about it, he's letting his actions set the example. Definitely feels like an underneath chess move for Drake there.
I fell to their feet, so many to choose. But I manipulated power as I lied to the masses. Died with my money, gluttony was too attractive. Reincarnated.
It's just a powerful delivery, man. I wish I could do it, but my voice is already going and I'm coughing like crazy. But, you know, just that guttural growl at the back of the throat and that style of delivery that he chose to use, just such passion and anger in this.
Life it placed me as a black woman in the chitlin circuit. Seductive vocalist as the promoter hit the curtains. My voice was angelic straight from heaven. The crowd sobbed. A musical genius, what the articles emphasize. Had everything I wanted, but I couldn't escape addiction. Heroin needles had me in fetal position, restricted. Turned on my family, I went wherever cameras be. Cocaine, no private planes for my insanity. Self-indulged, discipline never been my sentiments. I needed drugs. To me, an 8-ball was like penicillin. Fuck love. My happiness was in that brown sugar. Sex and melodies gave me hope when nobody's looking. My first assistant was a small town scholar. Never did a quaalude till I got myself around her. My daddy looked the other way. He saw sin in me. I died with syringes pinched in me. Reincarnated.
Oh, so we're getting one of those. We're getting one of those. This is storytelling genius from Kendrick. You could tell the way that he sets this up, and now we're going through the different reincarnations. We have a different body that he's reincarnated into, and he's leaving you more breadcrumbs of who it is. And just the way that this sets up, that he's embodying someone or something else and ideating all of this throughout, it just feels like that unreleased masterpiece that we broke down on this channel before, and I'll put links to that one below, but it just has that similar type of vibe and setup, man. And I can't wait to see where we continue going with this. But let's see if there's enough clues to figure out who this is, because he talks about playing on the Chitlin circuit, right, which was, back in the days of segregation, when a lot of black artists couldn't get featured in clubs of white owners and concerts. That's how the Chitlin circuit came into being and came into existence. So a lot of them would play their music and would perform on this circuit. So he ties it in to there. But if you want to look up female singers on the Chitlin circuit who struggled with drug addiction and drug issues, I don't feel like there's enough clues to specifically narrow exactly who he has in mind right there. Let's just see if there's anything else.
Restricted. Turned on my family. I went wherever cameras be. Cocaine, no private planes for my insanity.
Oh, that's a great line. Hang on, I got to bring it back further and break this down more properly.
Life, it placed me as a black woman in the Chitlin circuit. Seductive vocalist as the promoter hit the curtains. My voice was angelic, straight from heaven. The crowd sobbed. A musical genius, what the articles emphasize. Had everything I wanted.
Musical genius, what the articles emphasize. And see, isn't it funny how he's taking these different characters, and there could be some connections to Kendrick today, into how people see him and how some of the critics celebrate him. But this is also a reflection of his own vices that he sees within these characters, within these embodiments.
The crowd sobbed, a musical genius, what the articles emphasize. Had everything I wanted, but I couldn't escape addiction. Heroin needles had me in fetal position, restricted. Turned on my family, I went wherever cameras be. Cocaine, no private planes for my insanity. Self-indulge, discipline never been.
Cocaine was it on or no private planes for my insanity, right? Think about it. What does cocaine do? Get you high. Planes getting you high, but he had no privacy, right? Because, well, I say he, but he's now embodying a she. She had no privacy. And this life of fame and this success also came with its vices and its worldly vices. So while the cameras are on, that pressure can often lead to turning to some type of outlet, some way of dealing with it. And unfortunately, this outlet was drugs.
Addiction, heroin needles had me in fetal position, restricted. Turned on my family, I went wherever cameras be. Cocaine, no private planes for my insanity. Self-indulge, discipline never been my sentiments. I needed drugs. To me, an 8-ball was like
self-indulge, sentiments.
Self-indulge, discipline never been my sentiments. I needed drugs. To me,
needed drugs.
8-ball was like penicillin. Fuck.
8-ball, penicillin. So he goes. The UG sound on the internal A to B rhymes. I just wanted to highlight that he's still got some dope rhyme writing in between of all this storytelling, which just adds to the technicals of what he's doing right here. And then an 8-ball being like penicillin, right? Penicillin is used as a cure for infections, right? It's used to help you. So in this case, it's interesting because his infection, he's using a drug addiction and drugs in order to help and treating that like it's penicillin, like it's somehow healing and could take care of the body. You see that irony there?
Discipline never been my sentiments. I needed drugs. To me, an 8-ball was like penicillin. Fuck love. My happiness.
Because you get to the point as an addict where you can't function, and it's almost like you have to have it because the withdrawals are that bad that is what makes you well and lets you function, right? And in this case, functioning as a celebrity in this world. And you have another example. A second verse now with a second musician who has their own vices that they're dealing with. And actually, I'll up it even further, a second black musician with their vices. And then if you shout out TUPAC, that's 3. So I wonder if there's another theme of racial identity throughout this as well. Let's see where we keep going.
I needed drugs. To me, an 8-ball was like penicillin. Fuck love. My happiness was in that brown sugar. Sex and melodies gave me hope when nobody's looking. My first assistant was a small town.
Happiness was in that brown sugar. Obviously, brown sugar, again, tying into heroin.
Brown sugar. Sex and melodies gave me hope when nobody's looking. My first assistant was a small town scholar. Never did a quaalude till I got myself around her. My daddy looked at her the way.
Quaalude? Like around a pill till I got myself around her, my first assistant. Who is that? That's probably the most like specific clue that we could get. There's an affair here.
Scholar never did a quaalude till I got myself around her. My daddy looked at her the way he saw.
Yeah, like wrapping your body around her could be too. That might be the clue that we need.
I died with syringes pinched in me, reincarnated.
And then that hits different. I died with syringes pinched in me. That's the other thing. Dying from an overdose. You know, whether it could be with the needle, the syringe in, because it's an overdose, or whether it's like needles in the hospital. I'm not sure, because again, I've got some ideas, but I feel like this actually needs more research than an off the cuff, just, hey, this is how I feel. So hang on a second. I don't want to get this wrong because this song feels so important. All right, so I'm still seeing a number of names that this could possibly be, but one of the ones that I feel like definitely has some merit is Billie Holiday. And the thing about Billie Holiday was Billie Holiday had an infamous relationship, right, with a white actress. Think about, again, you think about segregation times, you think about playing the Chitlin circuit, why this would be, you know, something that would make the tabloids. But also that relationship was toxic because that relationship was, you know, led to her furthering her addiction. And then she died of liver failure in the hospital, but it was ultimately a result of drugs and alcohol and that life and that celebrity lifestyle. She struggled with addiction. Tallulah Bankhead was the one she had the relationship with. So I'm just wondering if when he means assistant, he doesn't mean like a literal assistant, but somebody who assisted her falling into the drugs and having that relationship. But anyways, in terms of female singers being on that circuit, having drug issues, Billie is definitely one of the ones I could tie in right there.
I died with syringes pinched in me, reincarnated.
I love how he says reincarnated, and then there's no hook. He just lets the music kind of breathe. Like, let this marinate. It's so intense, his delivery, and his storytelling is so captivating, and it really puts us there in that place. And I love just kind of that first person personification of it all. That's just great writing and great storytelling. And instead of like needing a catchy hook, you don't need it, right? Just let the music kind of speak for itself. The only line to the hook that's repeated that could serve as anything is the reincarnated. But for me, that serves as the transition. He says reincarnated, then he embodies someone else. Then he says reincarnated, and then later on he embodies someone else.
Life is Kendrick Lamar, a rapper looking at the lyrics to keep you in awe. The only factor I respected was raising the bar. My instincts sent material straight to the charts. My father kicked me out the house, I finally forgive him. I'm old enough to understand the way I was living. Ego and pride had me looking at him with resentment. I close my eyes, hoping that I don't come off contentious. I'm yelling, Father, did I finally get it right? Everything I did was selfless. I spoke freely when the people needed me, I helped them. I didn't gloat, even told them no when the vultures came. Took control of my fleshly body when the money changed.
Son, you do well, but your heart is closed. I can tell residue that linger from your past creates itself.
Father, I'm not perfect, I got urges, but I hold them down.
But your pride has to die.
Okay, Father, show me how.
Tell me every deed that you done and what you do it for.
I kept 100 institutions paid.
Okay, tell me more.
I put 100 hoods on one stage.
Okay, tell me more.
I'm trying to push peace in LA.
But you love war.
No, I don't.
Oh, yes, you do.
Okay, then tell me the truth.
Every individual is only a version of you. How can they forgive when there's no forgiveness in your heart?
I could tell you where I'm going.
I could tell you who you are. You fell out of heaven cause you was anxious. Didn't like authority, only searched to be heinous. Isaiah 14 was the only thing that was prevalent. My greatest music director was you.
There was a key there. I don't want to lose this feeling and momentum, but you fell out of heaven. Remember we talked about the fall of Lucifer? Father? We'll get back to it.
My greatest music director was you. It was colors, it was pinks, it was reds, it was blues, it was harmony and motion. I sent you down to earth cause you was broken. Rehabilitation, not psychosis. But now we here now. Centuries you manipulated man with music. Embodied you as superstars to see how you moving. You came a long way from garnishing evilish views.
And all I ever wanted from you was love and approval. I learned a lot, no more putting these people in fear. The more that word is diminished, the more it's not real. The more light that I can capture, the more I can feel. I'm using words for inspiration as an ideal.
So can you promise that you won't take your gifts for granted?
I promise that I use my gifts to bring understanding.
For heavy man, woman, and child, how much can you vow?
I found my life just to live one in harmony now.
You crushed a lot of people keeping their thoughts in captivity.
And I'm ashamed that I ever created that enemy.
And let's rejoice where we at.
I rewrote the devil's story just to take our power back. Carnated.
Wow. Wow, so much just happened there. That hit so heavy, and there was so much that he brought around there in terms of themes. For me, the religious theme, and then the personification of Lucifer through music, and then through the years as these different celebrities, as these different musicians who made it and then fell to earthly vices, and then relating that of letting pride get the best of them, of letting these worldly things get the best of them, like Kendrick Lamar and his struggles with pride, and relating that to the pride of Lucifer and the ultimate fall of Lucifer. And there's even more layers to this. This is just crazy storytelling, writing, and we need to just break this down bit by bit and just, wow, try to do this some semblance of justice, because my mind is just spinning in so many different directions right now. I love that setup. Love that setup from Kendrick Lamar. I've said this before, he's a hip-hop author. He just has this ability, especially on the storytelling tracks. He's got a great sense of timing, a great sense of setups, of foreshadowing, of how to tease things, of how to build, of how to storytell, of how to give you details and put you in these situations and locations, and then come around with a greater message. He's like giving us these just lyrical parables for us to walk away with in these teachings, man. This is insane.
It was selfless. I spoke freely when the first Kendrick Lamar.
Here we go.
My present life is.
Oh, camera. Sorry, camera died. Let's keep it rolling.
My present life is Kendrick Lamar, a rapper looking at the lyrics to keep you in awe. The only factor I respected was raising the bar.
My present life is Kendrick Lamar. So there's that theme of reincarnation, and now coming back around to him, which again is interesting because I do wonder if the beginning of that first verse was actually Kendrick speaking, or if that was Pac. I don't know. I'd have to re-put that under the microscope. Anyways, let's keep this running.
Looking at the lyrics to keep you in awe. The only factor I respected was raising the bar. My instinct.
Factor I respected was raising the bar. That could be a double, right? Every line that a rapper does is called a bar, so he's raising the bar in that sense versus trying to elevate and raise the bar and push himself.
The lyrics to keep you in awe. The only factor I respected was raising the bar. My instincts sent material straight to the charts. My father kicked me out the house. I finally forgive him. I'm old enough to understand the way I was living. Ego and
Father kicked him out of the house, so there's that connection that he felt with our guitarist in the first verse.
me out the house. I finally forgive him. I'm old
Sometimes history repeats itself, right?
enough to understand the way I was living. Ego and pride had me looking at him with resentment. I closed my.
But now that we also have that layer of the Father being the Holy Father, and him being the fallen one, and that teasing throughout, my father kicked me out of the house of heaven.
To understand the way I was living. Ego and pride had me looking at him with resentment. I close my eyes hoping that I don't come off contentious. I'm yelling
Ego and pride had me looking at him with resentment. What's the reason that Lucifer fell? Ego and pride. What is one theme that Kendrick struggled with that he talked about on Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers? Overcoming his own ego and his pride, something that he struggles with.
had me looking at him.
That pride and ego as well could be parts of the makings and the downfalls of a number of musicians throughout the years that he's been reincarnated as.
Resentment. I close my eyes hoping that I don't come off contentious. I'm yelling, Father, did I finally get it right? Everything I did was selfless. I spoke freely when the people needed me. I helped them. I didn't gloat, even told them no when the vultures came.
I'll give a double that might not be there, but Father, did I get it right? You know, writing because he talks about his lyrics and he's trying to leave you in awe, or did I get it right? You know, being on the right side of things, what's more morally right.
When the people needed me, I helped them. I didn't gloat, even told them no when the vultures came. Took control of my fleshly body when the money changed.
Told him no when the vultures came, right? Makes you think again of maybe like Jesus in the temple and like trying to be righteous and trying to tell them no and then trying to do right. But for Kendrick also, he told Drake no when the vultures came. There's some tie-ins.
No, when the vultures came, took control of my fleshly body when the money changed.
You do well.
Took control of my fleshly body when the money changed, right? I took control of my body, but being of the earth, being of the body. But there again is that just sort of spiritual tie-in, like having to take control of one's body and that greater spirituality. It's just an interesting line to insert right there. But again, this ties in with sort of the great reveal as we go on with this, and the flip and the duality that Kendrick is talking about between spirit and body, yin and yang, heavenly and earthly things.
Told them no when the vultures came, took control of my fleshly body when the money changed. Son, you do well, but your heart is closed. I can tell residue that linger from your past creates itself. Father, I'm not.
Your heart is closed. Residue from the past. Well, you have all this trauma in these past lives. And what's a theme that Kendrick has talked about as well in Mr. Morale? Generational trauma. All of that closing his heart. But then that's still tying in with the history of the fallen angel of Lucifer.
But your heart is closed, I can tell residue that linger from your past creates itself.
Father, I'm not perfect, I got urges, but I hold them down.
But your pride has to die.
Okay, Father, show me how.
Tell me every deed that you done and what you do it for.
I kept 100 institutions.
Tell me every deed that you've done. It does feel like this is Judgment Day right now. And he talked about Judgment Day
Father,
earlier.
show me how.
Tell me every deed that you done and what you do it for.
I kept 100 institutions paid.
Okay, tell me more.
I put 100 hoods on one stage.
Okay, tell me more.
I'm trying to push peace in LA.
But you love war.
No, I don't.
There it is, right? There's that duality yet again. He uses the pop-up concert. He has Bloods and Crips at his pop-up concert. He's trying to unify, to bring a message of peace. We talked about how whacked out murals with the 2 C's in it, the Crips, followed by Squabble Up, the 2 B's in it, the Bloods, and this sort of unification of all that. Here it is right here coming together. And yet, ironically, that unification and that call for peace has come in the middle of war. A war with Drake, a war on the industry. And how does Kendrick deal with that duality of wanting peace, of seeking inner peace, of wanting what's better for the culture, but at the same time going to war with others within the culture and beefing and having these dramas? The warrior monk tie-in, the yin and the yang, all together on this track. Everything is coming together, all these themes in this. Wow, what a culmination.
That you done and what you do it for.
I kept 100 institutions paid.
Okay, tell me more.
I put 100 hoods on one stage.
Okay, tell me more.
I'm trying to push peace in LA.
But you love war.
No, I don't.
Oh, yes, you do.
Okay, then tell me the truth.
Every individual is only a version of you. How can they forgive when there's no forgiveness in your heart?
I could tell.
That's so true. How can they forgive when there's no forgiveness in your heart? But every individual is only a version of you. And again, there's that greater spirituality. Like, it's not just one earthly body. It's not just Kendrick. It's not just our previous character. It's not our previous character. It's not Pac. It's not any of this. It's everyone, right? There's this greater idea of kind of humanity and even this battle and struggle of good and evil within us all. And you know the saying, like, we all have angels within us, we all have devils within us. I think that's a personification of this, because there's still Kendrick talking almost to God, but then there's also like Lucifer talking to God.
Visual is only a version of you. How can they forgive when there's no forgiveness in your heart?
I could tell you where I'm going.
I could tell you who you are. You fell out of heaven cause you was anxious, didn't like authority, only searched to be heinous. Isaiah 14 was the only thing that was prevalent. My greatest music.
I wonder if there's a line there that gets cut out again, like he's done on some of these tracks, or if that is just meant to have such a dramatic pause for you to start thinking about that reveal, because that was a big reveal. You fell out of heaven. Before this, you could argue that everything's kind of symbolic. He doesn't have to be talking about Lucifer, but right there, he does. And Lucifer is within Kendrick Lamar, that devil within us all, you know, the light and dark within us. And then Isaiah 14 is important because, you know, Isaiah 14, while it talks about what the downfall of the pride and the hubris of the king of Babylon in that is called Lucifer, right? And that's the origins of the Lucifer falling out of heaven story that a lot of scholars have interpreted, right? Did I just make up a word there? Interpreted? How about interpreted? Let's learn how to speak today. Anyways, I'm going off on tangents, right? But still, that's where the roots of Isaiah and Lucifer come in, the morning star, and just this fall. So that's very important, tying in here, because Kendrick sees the fall of Satan due to pride, much in the same way of his own fallings, much in the same way of these other artists that he's called out before and their fallings and failings.
The visual is only a version of you. How can they forgive when there's no forgiveness in your heart?
I could tell you where I'm going.
I could tell you who you are. You fell out of heaven cause you.
That's a great line. I could tell you where I'm going. I could tell you my plans, what I'm trying to achieve. Yeah, but I can tell you something more important. I can tell who you are at your root.
In your heart.
I could tell you where I'm going.
I could tell you who you are. You fell out of heaven cause you was anxious, didn't like authority, only searched to be heinous. Isaiah 14 was the only thing that was prevalent. My greatest music director was you. It was colors, it was pinks, it was reds, it was blues, it was harmony and motion. I sent you down to earth cause you was broken. Rehabilitation, not psychosis, but now we here now.
Wow. Rehabilitation, not psychosis. I'm trying to rehabilitate you, not punish you, right? And yet here we are repeating the cycles yet again. You've constantly been reincarnated. You've constantly assumed these bodies. But what's interesting is that there's another theme here, right? It's not as prevalent in mainstream Christianity, but it does exist in some circles because you have Isaiah and you also have Ezekiel. And in Ezekiel, which also talks about the fall, in that case, it was the king of Tyre, wasn't it? And relating it to Lucifer. But there's this theory, you are my musical director. The language of Lucifer was through music, right? And he led music and was gifted within music. And then through the years, you know, that music has become very secular, and that music has become a means of the devil to further the spread of sin in the world. So there's that distrust of secular music because it's reflected in its original roots come from Lucifer in heaven, and he was leading the angels in song. And you have kind of that duality of music being used for worship in churches and praise, but then also secular music being used to glorify what? Sex, to glorify materialism, to glorify these earthly things that lead to these vices. So this concept of music being of the devil, and music can be evil. And I think that's very important here because he's going to tie back into that in his final lines.
My greatest music director was you. It was colors, it was pinks, it was red.
So he's talking to Kendrick, being a musical director. That's clever, like just duality writing, right? Just double writing, but also talking to Lucifer, being God's musical director.
It was blues, it was harmony, emotion. I sent you down to earth because you was broken. Rehabilitation, not psychosis. But now we here now. Centuries you manipulated man with music. Embodied you as superstars to see how you moving. You came
Embodied you as superstars to see how you're moving. Manipulating man with music. See, there's the tie-in again.
long way from garnishing evilish views.
And all I ever wanted from you was love and approval. I learned a lot, no more putting these people in fear. The more that word is diminished, the more it's not real. The more light that I can capture.
The more that word is diminished, the more it's not real. You know, the Bible being the word of God, but then that word he's tying in with the music itself.
People in fear. The more that word is diminished, the more it's not real. The more light that I can capture, the more I can feel. I'm using words for inspiration as an ideal. So
the more light I can capture, right? There's almost this divine essence and spirituality that Kendrick is trying to achieve through his music. But also like capture light, capture attention, capture shine, but also this sort of heavenly, immortal aspect to music because, you know, music is how we live on, even once we're long past this earth, right? Our music and our words can be, in a sense, divine. So capturing that light as an artist, but is that a reflection of pride? Because we're then trying to be godlike, aren't we? We're trying to capture some type of essence of immortality when we are mere mortals, and we're giving in to the same pride and to the same downfalls as Satan.
No more putting these people in fear. The more that word is diminished, the more it's not real. The more light that I can capture, the more I can feel. I'm using words for inspiration as an ideal.
So can you promise that you won't take your gifts for granted?
I promise that I use my gifts to bring understanding.
For heavy man, woman, and child, how much can you vow?
I found my life just to live one in harmony now.
You crushed a lot of people, keeping their thoughts in captivity.
And I'm ashamed that I ever created that enemy.
And let's rejoice where we at.
I rewrote the devil's story just to take our power back. Incarnated.
I rewrote the devil's story just to take his power back. And for me, that's important, right? That's that final tie-in. Even though music was viewed and used by the devil to further sin and to give into that pride and temptation and evil, that a number of these stories that he told, like of John Lee Hooker, right, and his passing, and then our female musician and her tragic passing, right, and giving into these vices and seeing music as evil. Kendrick is now separating the devil from the music and using the music for empowerment, using the music to further the Father's message, a more heavenly message. And because he's done that, right, this is this big bringing it all around full circle at the end and finding a way to be reincarnated through the music. And for me, there's an even greater message of sort of black identity and black empowerment throughout this as well. And how he's taken, you know, because religion has been used in the past, especially Christianity, to justify slavery, to justify segregation, to justify humans treating others as a lesser than, right? So he's taking away all of that negativity and all those devils within the music and finding a way, in a sense, to purge it. And then there's that duality of him kind of purging himself and overcoming his own pride, overcoming his own temptations, overcoming his downfalls, right? This war that he fights, this war that he wages, but making sure that that war doesn't overtake him, that he doesn't forget the true purpose and the true root of his music and his message. There's so much happening. We could sit here and dive into this for like 3 hours, man. A class needs to be taught on this song. This is crazy.
Minute child, how much can you vow? I found my life just to live one in harmony now. You crushed a lot of people, keeping their thoughts in captivity.
You crushed a lot of people. Like the devil took a lot of lives. And you look at the tragic deaths that Kendrick talked about. The heroin overdose and others. Pac dying as well, right? Violently. You crushed a lot of people. Kendrick crushed a lot of people in this beef with Drake.
I'm ashamed that I ever created that enemy. And let's rejoice where we at.
And created that enemy. He's got external enemies, but for me, there's a greater enemy within that he talks about.
Wrote the devil's story just to take our power back. Incarnated.
And it's interesting that instead of saying reincarnated, because nothing's being redone now, it's almost like he takes away the re and just says carnated, like carnal of the flesh, but carnated here in this exact moment. And this is a turning point, and this is a way to move forward. Wow, what a powerful storytelling track, and dealing just with some incredibly complex issues and that just duality of writing throughout. That was a fucking lyrical masterpiece from Kendrick Lamar. You were Knox Hill certified. Hope you guys liked today's video. Listen, if you're here at the end of that long breakdown, this is what I'm trying to bring to the channel. I'm trying to help you guys appreciate the art. Don't miss the notifications for the rest of this album. Subscribe with notifications on. It does go a long way. Also, don't forget to copy merch. knoxhilldmv.com. We got hats, we got shirts, we got hoodies, we got everything that you need. Get the brand out there. Support, represent it. It does go a long way. I love you guys. Stay safe, stay positive. Oh, man, my brain is fried. All right, I'll catch you again.